Sunday, January 7th, and this is The National.
Tonight, a sea of black on the red carpet. Hollywood's biggest stars protest sexual misconduct. But can fashion make a statement?
The White House on the attack over that Trump tell-all, and now Steve Bannon is changing his story.
But we begin in Nova Scotia and a tiny community in mourning after a deadly tragedy. Relatives say 4 children were killed. These pictures tell the devastating story of fire so fierce the youngest victims could not escape and no one could save them. Officials saying very little at this point. It's believed that 2 adults did survive. All of this happening in a small village called Pubnico Head near Yarmouth. The CBC's Kayla Hounsell is there live tonight and joins us now. And Kayla, first of all, tell us what we know about this fire.
Well, Ian, as you mentioned, we don't know a lot. We don't know how or why this happened. What we can tell you is that the local volunteer fire department here got the call around 20 after 12, so just after midnight last night. Up to 50 volunteer firefighters fought the blaze for more than 2 hours, but they could not save everyone inside. Now, the authorities are still not confirming how many people died. They do say that there are fatalities. They're not saying anything about their genders or their ages, but extended family members have confirmed for CBC News that the 4 people who died were very young children. So this is a very difficult evening here in this community as they just begin to come to terms with this devastating news. And
finding out more about this, Kayla, complicated by a couple of things. First of all, how cold it is there, ice forming on the site of the debris, but also that there have been hot spots of that fire through the night, and we can still see some smoke there behind you. Tell me how the community has been reacting.
Well, this is a very small community, a village, as you say, so this is the kind of thing where everyone here really does know everyone else. It sounds like a cliche, but in this community, it's true. So, you know, we spoke with a young mother earlier this evening, and she says she has a 6-year-old daughter, and her daughter and one of the victims went to each other's birthday parties. So that family had the difficult task of sitting down and trying to explain to their very young daughter what happened and trying to make sense of something that's even difficult for adults to make sense of. She says her daughter is very sad and just keeps saying that she's going to miss them, but that they're angels in the sky now. We also had a chance to speak with the area councillor earlier today who reiterated the fact that this kind of thing is tragic no matter where it happens, but it strikes particularly hard in a community like this where everyone does know one another. On the other side of that is the fact that the community will come together and help this family, she says. So they don't quite yet know what this family needs that they're able to give them, but she says it doesn't matter what it is, they'll do everything they can to help. Here's what she has to say.
It's a family that's going to be torn apart, and it's very sad what happened, and the whole community is devastated, and it's you can't explain it. It's so devastating. It's hard to express your feelings because you don't know how people feel in these circumstances, and it's very heartbreaking.
So again, a very difficult evening here. Everyone in this community seems to know who these 4 children are and actually seem to have already begun grieving their loss. But the local fire department is saying that's for the RCMP to talk about. And again, the RCMP are not even willing to confirm how many people have died so far this evening even.
All right, and you're working on a story on this, and we'll have that next hour on The National. Thanks, Kayla. Well, a much different story dominating U.S. news this weekend. Rosemary?
Yeah, that's right, Ian. Some of the president's supporters took to the U.S. political shows this morning, perhaps not surprisingly, slamming the new tell-all book about Trump's presidency. They've called the book poorly written and garbage, but the author isn't backing down. In fact, he doubled down.
If I left out anything, it's probably stuff that was even more damning. It's that bad. It's that bad. I mean, it's an extraordinary moment in time, and the last several days focused on my book, I think, are proof of this.
And of course, Trump himself also couldn't resist, weighing in again about the fire and fury. Paul Hunter explains.
Back from a weekend of meetings at the Camp David retreat, Donald Trump with a new book deeming him to be an ill-informed, self-obsessed, semi-literate, petulant president took no question. The book, a bestseller before it was even released, comes with a blistering bottom line on the Trump presidency.
This is worse than everybody thought.
It's so bad, says author Michael Wolff, Trump's nearing the threshold for triggering the U.S. Constitution's 25th Amendment, a mechanism to, in effect, fire the president for, among other things, mental incapacity.
The 25th Amendment is a concept that is alive every day in the White House.
It's damning stuff. Today, a day after calling himself a very stable genius, Trump took aim at Wolff, who'd spent parts of several months in the West Wing last year doing research. Tweeted Trump, "It's a fake book, written by a totally discredited author." Trump backers likewise took on Wolff. Former campaign manager Corey Lewandowski.
Let me be very clear. This is a book of fiction.
Current senior advisor Stephen Miller.
The author is a garbage author of a garbage book.
CIA Chief Mike Pompeo today said he's proud of how Trump handles his duties as president.
We deal in serious matters, and that this book is in no way that.
Meanwhile, another twist. Trump's former chief strategist Steve Bannon, who Trump now labels Sloppy Steve for dishing on Trump's inner circle, today said some of what's attributed to him in the book was misinterpreted, including the suggestion Donald Trump Jr. was treasonous. Says Bannon now he's a good patriot. Paul Manafort, he says, Trump's former campaign manager, is the treasonous one. For his part, Wolff stands by his words and says this to any who challenge them.
The book speaks for itself. Read the book. See if you don't feel like you are with me on that couch in the White House, and see if you don't feel alarmed.
Paul joins us now from Washington. Paul, you're reading it, I'm reading it, so is most of the world. Hard to understand. Is this really accurate? How accurate is the picture painted here by Wolff?
Yeah, well, that's the big question, isn't it? Certainly, Michael Wolff stands by it 100%. Then again, he wrote it. The White House is pushing back hard, but then again, they don't like it. So what's in the middle? For sure, Wolff gets some details wrong, a name here and there, and Steve Bannon today saying he was misunderstood on who's treasonous and who isn't. But setting aside that it's never good to have even a single fact wrong, another way of looking at this book is to take a step back, the helicopter view, and say gosh, it sure has the ring of truth. It's as if people in the West Wing just kind of forgot he was there. And that's when people say things they might regret later, things they might not want to end up in a book about their boss, the president. But that's what happens. I met Michael Wolff in 2003 in the Persian Gulf. We were both reporting at the time on the U.S. Central Command briefings at the start of the Iraq War. I was doing live hits for CBC Newsworld. He was writing columns for The Guardian and New York Magazine. Those briefings, to be honest, were kind of a mad circus and a place where getting at the truth was complicated. And that's what he wrote about. His columns about that time were like this book, rich in detail, full of anecdotes, whispered quotes, casual observations about what was actually going on around us. I just reread them in light of this new book and felt now as I did the first time I read them 15 years ago. On an experience I went through, to which I can attest, he nailed it. Bang on. I wouldn't change a word.
All right, Paul Hunter in Washington tonight. Thanks, Paul.
The first major award ceremony of the year is being held tonight, and so the Golden Globes have become the first since that avalanche of sexual misconduct scandals rocked the entertainment industry.
You know, I feel like this is such an awesome night to celebrate women and to celebrate all of us coming together and standing with each other and standing in solidarity.
The red carpet turning black as star after star turned up dressed in black as a show of solidarity for victims of sexual harassment in the workplace. Noticeably absent, one of the biggest names on the awards circuit in recent years, Harvey Weinstein, whose behavior unleashed so much fury in Hollywood. Briar Stewart has more on the glittering gala with a different look.
Tonight, as stars waltzed down the red carpet, all those high-priced gowns were still on display, but nearly all of them were black, the color of choice for actors who say they're standing together against sexual assault and harassment. At first, some industry watchers were admittedly skeptical.
I don't think it's necessarily a personal sacrifice to have to wear black. But then when they announced the Time's Up campaign, I really had a change of heart.
The Time's Up movement was launched by actresses to take Me Too beyond Hollywood.
On behalf of missing and murdered Indigenous women and those who commit their lifetime and effort to finding justice for us, we stand in solidarity with the Time's Up movement.
That's Kalina Lawrence, an Indigenous activist. She's one of 8 advocates invited by actresses to be their +1 for the Golden Globes.
Yes means yes and no means no.
Tarana Burke is another. She originally founded the Me Too movement over a decade ago.
And now people are standing up and paying attention. So I feel great about that.
Tonight, she accompanied Michelle Williams on the red carpet. It was an effort to broaden out the conversation beyond the entertainment industry.
And so what do you think of that approach, that strategy?
It helps diffuse criticism levied at women in Hollywood that the only women getting attention were the people who were accusing prominent men.
Cara Buckley is covering the Golden Globes for the New York Times.
So they're going to really try to make this notoriously superficial, beauty pageant something more substantive.
The actresses have launched a legal defense fund for the victims of abuse and harassment. So far, more than $15 million has been raised.
Thank you to all the people who donated to the Time's Up Defense Fund, which was created for people who are victims of sexual harassment and discrimination and abuse in the workplace, and they don't have access to legal representation.
But the question remains, just once the cameras are off and the red carpet is rolled up, has anything really changed? Briar Stewart, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, as you can see, the CBC's Aleka Nathu is on the red carpet tonight with more on the Hollywood party that's become a protest. And explain to us what it's been like tonight as opposed to years past on the red carpet.
Well, having been here for the last 3 years now, I feel like there was a definite change in the tone on this year's red carpet. Part of the reason is because normally the Golden Globes is usually the more fun cousin, the less scripted version of the Oscars. People are here for a more lighthearted kind of a time. But this time there was a much more somber tone. Keep in mind that this is the first televised award show, the first high-profile celebrity event since allegations against Harvey Weinstein and so many others in the entertainment industry in particular have surfaced. And so it seems like a lot of the actors wanted to change the direction of the conversation. Doing that not just by wearing black, but also some women, Amy Poehler, Emma Stone, Emma Watson, brought along activists as their guests to try to get their message out even further.
She's absolutely incredible. She is the executive director of IMCON, which is a black feminist organization that fights violence against women and girls and BME women specifically. And very happy to have her here tonight just to amplify.
Now, something else that's interesting is the head of the Foreign Press Association, which runs the Golden Globes, showed up today in red, but she was wearing a Time's Up pin, which is in support of the movement. Ian?
All right, Zuleka, thank you.
You're welcome.
I recently got to sit down with Canadian comedian Samantha Bee in New York. Bee has used outrage and comedy to protest some of this, the sexual misconduct revelations, both in Hollywood and beyond. Here's a little bit of our conversation. As a female comedian, growing up, did you ever encounter this inappropriate sexual behavior?
Oh my God, of course. But not really in the comedy world per se, more in the restaurant world.
Yeah. Well, we see that happening now.
I mean,
too, yeah.
And in the world in general, in the world at large, 100%, of course. I don't know. I couldn't name a single woman who I've ever spoken to who hasn't encountered it in her life.
So when you're out there slamming people, even some people that you know, I would imagine, other comedians, Louis C.K., what are you trying to tell the audience?
It's always more complicated if you admire a person greatly to speak about them. But if it's what's happening and if it's current and it makes sense to talk about, then we have an obligation to do that.
Much more from that interview with Samantha Bee, including her thoughts on Donald Trump, tomorrow night here on The National. Meanwhile, in this country, Hollywood North is booming. Film production continues to grow in Ontario and British Columbia. And there's one city you may not expect that's getting a whole lot of attention.
The LA producers came up here a couple of months ago, did some scouting. The director fell in love with some of these locations, and we found some spectacular locations.
The film industry is flourishing in Manitoba, my home province, growing fast year over year. But as the CBC's Tegan Beaudette reports, some are worried Manitoba's star turn on the silver screen could in fact be in jeopardy.
This is a bullet hole, so this would be the exit wound.
Makeup artist Christy Gregg shows off scars, bullet holes, and a prosthetic finger for the movie she's working on in rural Manitoba.
Since I was a very small child, I've had a love of horror movies and all things gore. So naturally, I wanted to go into makeup to make monsters.
Blood and guts are Gregg's specialty after a decade working in film. She's part of a growing number of Manitobans working in the industry.
I wrapped a show and started a show on the same day. So there's been no downtime, and if we want to work that much, it's a possibility.
New census numbers show the number of Manitobans working in film is growing by about 4.3% a year. That doesn't touch BC's 17% growth, but it puts the province high up in the pack. Producers say even the formerly slow winter months are now busy.
And the good news there is that having consistent work for these crews potentially attracts more people to this industry, because we really need more people working in this industry.
Manitoba's film industry is on track to post its biggest year ever, and experts say that's thanks to a low Canadian dollar and a strong film tax credit. Nova Scotia and Saskatchewan removed or reduced those credits recently, with devastating consequences for the local industry.
Immediately after that tax credit was abandoned, Saskatchewan's employment fell by 1,200 and Manitoba's grew by 1,200 from 2.1 to, so they just moved here, or Ontario.
But Manitoba recently commissioned a cost-saving report that recommends axing its own tax credit. The Manitoba Film Commissioner says the industry is also dealing with a review of the province's arts sector.
Obviously, people are paying attention to that. But, I really do believe that the film industry itself has really demonstrated the return on investment.
For now, producers are looking for more crew members to fill jobs. And they're lobbying for a direct flight between Winnipeg and Los Angeles to capture more lucrative productions, creating more incentive for people like Gregg to stay in the latest Hollywood North. Tegan Beaudette, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Still ahead tonight on The National, we'll take you on board a special train that's traveling across China inside a mobile eye hospital, changing the lives of people in rural, isolated areas.
First, though, they're North Korea's top figure skaters hoping to represent their country at the Olympics. Their journey included time on the ice here in Canada. You'll hear from the man who coached them next.
I see this raw talent, and as a coach, when you see raw talent, you're like, oh my God, I really feel I could do something. I can make a difference for them.
There are a number of employee groups and other companies hoping to emulate Lotus's policies in their own companies. We discussed having a meeting in January '93 in New York to network and exchange information and ideas. If anyone is interested in more information, please let me know.
The objective will be to explain the goals of the gay and lesbian organization to Bell employees. The article.
Well, I think the company's waiting just to gauge and see how progress is made in this area.
I'd like to see diversity training in the workplace. I'd like to see spousal benefits for same-sex couples, of course.
Knowing that you're in a company that respects you and acknowledges you, it makes a huge difference. You don't feel like your family is considered less valuable than everyone else's family.
Spousal rights is a social right. It's a right to design programs to support the fundamental building block of our nation, which is a heterosexual family, and that.
On a rainy evening in Toronto, a small group of employees huddles to discuss the latest inequity at work, the company benefit plan. These are professionals from major corporations like Bell Canada and IBM. What distinguishes them from a majority of their colleagues is simply that they are gays and lesbians, and their declared spouses aren't covered by their company benefit packages. The battle cry is equal treatment at work, regardless of sexual preference.
Bell is not the enemy. The enemy is ignorance. And
Carl Miller is one of the founders of the gay and lesbian organization at Bell Canada. In the past year, he and his colleagues have repeatedly asked Bell to extend the company dental, eye care, and medical benefits to cover same-sex partners. companies have been generally slow to see the advantage of extending same-sex spousal benefits. They fear that satisfying the demands of a few might attract more gays and lesbians. They fear the possibility of AIDS might drain the benefits package, and they worry about public reaction to their recognition of homosexual families. But they can't escape the issue because today's companies have become testing grounds for society's moral and ethical dilemmas. Some make history dealing with these dilemmas. Others follow.
It's an historic day for this province.
And history in this case is being made on many fronts. In the public sector, Ontario Crown Attorney Michael Leshner set a precedent this fall when the Ontario Human Rights Tribunal ruled his male spouse was entitled to coverage under Leshner's government benefits plan. Ontario didn't challenge the ruling, so provincial public sector employees can include same-sex spouses under their medical plans. BC and Yukon have similar policies.
On the National tonight, a couple of rescues in British Columbia to tell you about, beginning with two men who failed to return yesterday from snowmobiling near Revelstoke in the Rockies. After 10 hours of searching, the pair was found cold but in good health early this afternoon. And a little further east, near Golden, two skiers from Spain surviving after spending 4 nights on their own outside. They were reported missing after not checking out from their hotel. They have just minor injuries. 32 crew members missing tonight after an Iranian oil tanker collided with a freight ship and caught fire off of China's east coast. The ship was carrying the equivalent of nearly 1 million barrels of ultralight oil. Authorities say oil did spill into the sea. Just how much is not clear. All the crew from the freighter have been rescued.
North and South Korean leaders will hold face-to-face talks on Tuesday for the first time in more than 2 years. The meeting will be held here at the so-called Truce Village in the demilitarized zone between the two Koreas. Certainly, the topic the world will be watching for most closely is the denuclearization of the North. But on the formal agenda, issues related to the Olympics, specifically if the North Korean athletes can actually compete in the Pyeongchang Winter Games happening just next month. North Korea hopes to send figure skaters to the South when the Games start in just 32 days, rather. And as our Simon Nekoneshny reports, those skaters have a Canadian coach to thank.
This Montreal area rink is 10,000 kilometers away from North Korea, but the moves practiced here could end up being watched just as closely as any combat exercises. Ryom Tae-ok and Jusik Kim are the only North Korean athletes to qualify for next month's Olympics in Pyeongchang, South Korea. And they did it with the help of a Canadian coach.
I see this raw talent, and as a coach, when you see raw talent, you're like, oh my God, I really feel I could do something, I can make a difference for them.
The pair approached Marcotte last year at the World Championships. They were admirers of two of Marcotte's other skaters, Canadian superstars Eric Radford and Megan Duhamel.
It was really cute because they seemed to want to get help from anybody who would help them. If anybody offered them some sort of suggestion, they tried it. They tried it 100%.
Ryom and Kim trained alongside the Canadians in Saint-Julie for 8 weeks last summer.
They were very, very disciplined. Their coaches could be very strict with them, but I think that we had a great energy, a great training and camaraderie with them.
But a lot more than a medal may be riding on their Olympic routine. The Games are seen as a chance for the North and South to put aside politics.
When you look at the Olympic logos, there's 5 rings with 5 different colors, all touching each other. That's the goal. That's what sports should be.
If North Korea does send athletes to the Pyeongchang Games, it could be an icebreaker for North-South relations, and it will be due in part to the double-axel diplomacy that happened here in the suburban Montreal skating rink. Simon Nekoneshny, CBC News, Saint-Julie.
Still ahead, it's believed tens of millions of people in China are going blind. Many live in rural, isolated areas without the care they need. Sasha Petrusek will take us aboard a train that is changing lives.
So far, this particular train has performed some 2,000 operations on board just this season.
The last half-century has been the most turbulent in world history, and it has seen a veritable revolution in how we get the news. 50 years ago, we got it almost totally from newspapers. Today, most of us get the news from television. Since it began on that first day of January 1941, the CBC News Service has played a key role in the journalistic transformation of how we get the news. So to mark its 50th birthday, we'll take a fast gallop through those years, looking at some of the events, some of the issues, and some of the people of CBC News.
It is a broken country down here, drab and desolate. A country of scrub and second growth, of rock. Rock, relentless, hard, cruel hard.
For Canadians, this was the birth of broadcast news in action, live on the scene. J. Frank Willis was reporting to Canada and to an international radio hookup at a dramatic mine rescue at Moose River, Nova Scotia. It was the beginning of live broadcast journalism in Canada, and it stimulated the Canadian appetite for broadcast news.
This is for the world. They have been saved. They're out of the mine.
That same year, radio crackled with the news of King Edward VIII abdicating his throne.
You must believe me when I tell you that I have found it impossible to carry the heavy burden of responsibility without the help and support of the woman I love.
Charles Jennings, the CBC's first anchorman, reported on those stories and on the march to war. His son is today ABC anchorman Peter Jennings. The outbreak of war really intensified Canadian interest in broadcast news. It was the story of the century as correspondents scrambled to report the latest developments. But at the start, the CBC was surprisingly calm. When Canada formally declared war, the CBC interrupted a lunchtime NBC music program it was carrying to read a Canadian press bulletin. That done, the CBC went back to the NBC music show, picking up the strains of Inca Dinka Doo. But the war quickly made the CBC realize it had to broadcast more news. As Hitler rampaged through Europe, Canadians wanted to hear the latest developments. At the time, the news agency Canadian Press wrote all the CBC newscasts, since the CBC didn't have its own news service. The finished scripts to be broadcast were rushed from the Canadian Press offices by bicycle couriers to the CBC studios.
This is the China many of us see, an economic powerhouse with a growing middle class, rapidly catching up to the West and full of newfound wealth. But tonight, Sasha Petricic will show us another China that we don't normally see. In fact, millions of Chinese people who live there can't see it either unless they take a trip aboard the Lifeline Express.
They are unsteady and uncertain as they step off the bus. Some have never traveled so far from their villages and wouldn't make the trip now if it wasn't for an irresistible promise aboard an unusual train. It's okay, just watch your head as you board, says the nurse. It is the promise of sight restored for an aging rural population with the highest number of cataract sufferers in the world. No one knows exactly how many in China, though it's well in the tens of millions. Can you see this? The nurse asks in the mobile eye hospital inside. Nothing, the woman answers. I can't see my food to eat, says her friend, and it's getting worse. I can't even see you. For Zhang Jiliang, it's meant years of poverty as the lenses in his eyes have gradually clouded with cataracts and the jobs have faded away. With the arrival of the mobile hospital, one of 4 run by a private Hong Kong foundation known as Lifeline Express, he expects that to change. The train is parked in an unused siding on the outskirts of the city of Guilin. Every day, it draws those who are going blind with cataracts from the countryside, the old, the poor, those left behind by China's economic juggernaut, a backlog resulting from decades of no access to eye doctors and general poor health.
Thinking China is a rich country is actually a complete misunderstanding. China is actually very poor. There is richness in a very small group of people living in major cities. The rest of the country is still very, very poor.
About 500,000 more Chinese get cataracts every year, and most can't afford the $1,000 or so it costs for the operation at a hospital, if there is one nearby. Here, it's free. A single train carriage acts as exam room, lab, and operating theater. Inside, newly trained doctors from all over China, and sometimes the foreign experts who train them, perform the quick surgery. Clouded lenses are replaced with clear synthetic ones in a matter of minutes. Then in the recovery area, the dreaming begins. I want to be free to climb mountains and go hunting again, says Shu Fiangning. I'm a dancer, says Jiang Suzhen, and I hope to be dancing better and better now. After a few weeks, once this train is done here, a locomotive will come down these tracks, hook itself up to the 4 carriages, drag it to another corner of China, in each case serving a different rural population where people need to have their eyes checked and the operations done. So far, this particular train has performed some 2,000 operations on board just this season. Impressive, yes, says Tsai Jingjian, and a big help for his mother. He's been carrying her through the train because she can't walk or see. But, he says, it reveals a huge gap in rural China. It's a big problem, he says. These are seniors who need doctors and clinics nearby. There just aren't enough of those. The operation's over, they head back to the countryside, their vision already improving. The unemployed Zhong Jiliang is among them. This is my house, he says. It's great to see it more clearly. His mother dries sweet potatoes by the fire for dinner, the only vegetable they can grow here. And in his room, Zhong makes his plans. To look for a job, he says, maybe in construction or in the fields, and then to look for a wife. A whole new outlook on the future. Sasha Petrusik, CBC News, Baogutang, China.
Back here in Canada, most stories about human trafficking that make it into the headlines involve women from other countries who've been brought here, but that's not the reality.
Half the time I had no idea who was coming to my door or for what services. I didn't understand what was happening to me.
The voice there of a survivor of human trafficking in this country, just one of the hundreds of young women lured into the sex trade each year, victimized by pimps and the men demanding their service. In November, Ariana Rumliotis gave us an exclusive close-up look inside a shadowy world. And on tonight's Reporter's Notebook, she reflects on the efforts being taken to combat a shocking, hidden crime.
I was being trafficked and had no idea there was a word for
it. Toronto Police's human trafficking unit is the largest in the country. Its mandate, to find young, often underage girls forced to work in the sex trade. At 10:30 a.m. on a Friday. Police are looking for a girl.
I think the stars aligned in the sense that it's become very much a parallel objective for the unit to raise awareness about this issue because there's so much silence and so much shame that covers it and blankets it and keeps everybody in the dark. We did a scan, we did a canvass of a bunch of police units across the country, and everybody kept saying, you have to talk to Nunzio Tramontosi, who runs Toronto's human trafficking unit. He's the guy.
I think of my daughter. My daughter's 15. You know, my daughter's at that age where they recruit, okay? She's in high school, grade 10. That's what they're looking for. And you know what? When I see these girls, that could be my daughter.
And we expected, when we first met with him, to hear about, you know, the marginalized communities, which you're expecting. They're at risk, that they will be prey. But what was really surprising, too, was that half of the victims that the unit sees are coming from so-called good homes. These are homes of, you know, where the parents are lawyers, doctors, police officers even. So that part, I think, made the story resonate, not just for Detective Tramontosi as a father and as a police officer, but I think it resonated with all of us in the crew. All of us felt that we can somehow relate to this.
This is the best my life has ever been. I have these people that are going to take care of me. I don't have to worry about anything. The best way I can describe it is I had hit the jackpot.
Carly doesn't want us to show her face. She especially doesn't want her grandmother to know. She was a runaway and hooked on heroin when she met her traffickers. They took her in, and she says they took care of her.
They asked me about my family. They asked me about my friends. They asked me why I was homeless. They, you know, they asked me about my hopes and dreams for the future. I felt so special.
You get roped down this road so quickly, and before you know it, as she said, she was servicing 10 to 12 men a day and having absolutely no control over it. And a big, big piece of human trafficking is that these young girls and women have no control. They get no money. And often, the detectives would tell us, they would barely get a meal a day. So there's this misconception that this is prostitution in a sense, that people are choosing this path. No, they are lured in by something that begins as a boyfriend-girlfriend type of relationship, and very soon, and that's the striking, shocking part, very soon, within a matter of days, they're suddenly servicing people and not seeing a dime, and suddenly no longer in control of their movement, of their money, of anything.
We need to help them. We need to help these girls. You know, they're getting brutalized every day. They're getting raped every day. You know, 15, 20 times a day. They're human beings. You know, they're our children.
These are predators. They know how to manipulate those vulnerabilities. And that is what police and Detective Sergeant Tramontosi really, really pushed. Not only be very aware of what your child is up to, but love them unconditionally. That sounds so simplistic, almost old-fashioned, but that's what we would hear time and again from our survivor and from police. Children, young women, vulnerable people, they just need to feel that somebody loves them and accepts them. And that gives them that shield for when the predators come lurking to kind of know better.
This man thinks he's on his way to have sex with a 17-year-old girl. He's arrested as soon as he walks into the hotel room.
He showed up as he promised, and he was surveilled up to this location where he was arrested by an arrest team inside of the room. I look at it like a triangle. I look at it as there's victims, there's traffickers, pimps, and there's the purchaser, the people that are buying the service. And each person has a role in these types of investigations. And yes, we want to do everything we can for victims. That's why we're doing the work. That's why all these people are doing the work. At the same time, we definitely take serious the fact that we need to lock these guys up.
The man is escorted out the back entrance, taken to a nearby police station. That's where he'll be booked with attempting to have sex with a minor. Joanna Rimiliotis, CBC News, Toronto.
Up next, a warning on the future of democracy in the Trump era from an expert on history and tyranny. But first. In Toronto, the cold snap has made its mark. The ice covering the city's harbor and waterways is greater than it's been in years. That's encouraged a lot of open ice adventurers playing on ponds and on Lake Ontario itself.
We were honestly scared at the beginning. We didn't really know because we were the only ones out here, but it looks like we started a little trend and everyone saw us out, so everyone decided to come out.
A trend has alarmed Toronto police. Today, they warned residents there is no safe ice here. It's unpredictable at any temperature, and the weather is already getting warmer.
So where you may think yesterday was minus 20 and everything should be fine.
The punches were thrown in Czechoslovakia, but their impact was felt halfway around the world in Canada.
What's your reaction to yesterday's international hockey fisticuffs fiasco?
Today, the junior hockey Donnybrook was the talk of the open line shows from hockey coaches.
But we must remember that in hockey, fighting is part of the game, and it has been for a long time.
To the mothers of young players.
But I am observing us losing a great deal of talent, beautiful young men, like I say, at 12 or 15, just refusing to play hockey anymore.
CBC sportscaster Bruce Dobigan has seldom seen such an outpouring of emotion.
I thought that all of a sudden I realized what a deep sort of strain this hits in Canadian people, that hockey touches people like nothing else. I think it's the one thing that we really associate with our national pride.
The hockey fight of the month. Joe Cirillo of the Devils in the light, Bobby Basson of the Islanders in the dark.
Violence is nothing new to pro hockey. The American networks even assemble special packages of the NHL's lowlights. Junior hockey is supposed to be different, and generally it has been. In 1982 and in 1985, Canadian juniors won the World Championship. They had little trouble with the strict international rules against fighting. In fact, the Canadians even won the Fair Play Medal a couple of years ago. As for yesterday, Al Eagleson, Canada's top diplomat on international hockey, thinks the Canadian players had no choice.
It's a sad answer to a problem created by a lack of self-discipline, which is totally understandable. I think if my son had been there, he would have jumped the boards to help his friends.
If there's one word that keeps coming up, it's discipline. You have to teach discipline to kids, whether they're 14 or whether they're 24, playing internationally. They have to be disciplined. They have to understand that these are the rules of the games over here. You're not playing by your own rules anymore.
As the lights went out in Czechoslovakia yesterday, a new debate about Canada's game was just beginning.
They turned the lights off in the arena, but that isn't going to solve anything.
We spoke to two of the Canadian players just after their arrival at Toronto Airport, goalie Sean Simpson and defenseman Kerry Huffman.
Sean, where were you in all the kerfuffle?
I was on the bench at the time. Jim Waite started the game, and I don't know, I was just watching the game and it all came, and I just came off the bench.
What do you mean, I just came off the bench? I mean, what goes on in a guy's head? What do you see? What boils out, and why do you move? Because you were programmed to not move out there, right?
I don't know, just we're on the bench and we see 5-on-5 guys fighting on the ice, and we see the other team leave their bench, and it's just a natural reaction that we go out and help the guys in our team and stick up for the guys in our team, and I don't know, you don't even really think twice of it, it's just something you do.
How many were you each taking on, Kerry? I mean, where were you? Did you get hurt?
No, I didn't really get hurt. There was one time when I had a hold of two of them, and then but then your players came on and helped you out. So that was good. There was always somebody there to help you out.
Do something like that. The libel laws are very weak in this country. If they were strong, it would be very helpful. You wouldn't have things like that happen where you can say whatever comes to your head.
That is the U.S. president talking about the book Fire and Fury. It is a familiar Donald Trump theme. He's often called for laws to muzzle unflattering voices. And for Yale historian Timothy Snyder, that is a warning sign. After a year of shattered norms and simmering mistrust, he spoke to Susan Ormiston about his fears for democracy itself.
Donald Trump has been called many things since becoming U.S. president. For some, his perceived undermining of American democracy and its institutions is a warning sign.
It's time to expose the crooked media deceptions. And yes, by the way, they are trying to take away our history and our heritage. You see that.
Timothy Snyder is among those with concerns. The Yale University historian is an expert on the rise of fascism, communism, and the Second World War, a time when democracy declined dramatically. Today, Snyder is using that history as a warning sign and offering practical advice on how to uphold democracy in contemporary times. He's written a book called On Tyranny, outlining 20 lessons on what to watch for, such as number 17, listen for dangerous words, or number 10, believe in truth, or number 2, defend institutions. It's all kind of a guidebook for citizens today on how to uphold institutions of democracy. We'll get into more of those in our conversation. I met up with Timothy Snyder at the Royal Ontario Museum ahead of his lecture on the rise of modern tyranny. Tim, this book on tyranny is almost like a clarion call for citizens, a big warning. Democracies can fail and return to a tyrannical past.
Yeah, so I try to put it in this form where we can get the wisdom of the 20th century and get out ahead of what's coming to us in America.
Are you suggesting that Trump's America is a threat to democracy?
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, this is the first president who during his campaign said he might not respect the outcome. This is the first president who during his campaign openly urged his followers to commit acts of violence against political opponents. Democracy is good luck plus a whole lot of hard work. And the point of the book is that we have to do that work now. If we just coast, it can slip away. It usually does.
I think a lot of people would think in North America that democracy is unassailable. We've had it for so long, nothing can tear it down. Are we wrong?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely wrong. I mean, if we look at the 20th century, which is the subject of the book, most democracies also fall. If we look at the 21st century, democracies continue to fail. Often while holding elections, democracies become ever more authoritarian. And yes, if you're a Canadian looking with a cool, clear eye at the United States, the trends are in the wrong direction.
But standing here in Canada, comfortably, we have multi-party system. We think it's pretty robust, and we have free and fair elections. So a lot of people wouldn't see the danger.
Well, first of all, the danger is always in us. Democracy is a kind of political insurance against ourselves, so it's important not to be complacent. If I were Canadian, which obviously I'm not, I would be looking down at the US now and saying, why is it that some states in the US have already basically shifted to a one-party system? Or, what's wrong with the American financing of elections? Or, is it a problem when major politicians have money stuck offshore? I would be looking now at the United States as a lesson, because if it can happen in the US, and it is happening in the US, then I would say everyone would be on guard. Another thing which is authoritarian about us, and which I think you all should watch out for, is the political fiction. People are losing the ability to distinguish between what's true and what they want to hear.
But I hear people saying that, Tim. Saying they're so confused, they don't believe anyone anymore, so they're not taking part.
Yeah. That's what 21st century authoritarianism looks like. What authoritarians do is they say, look, there's no truth at all. Sure, you don't trust me, but don't trust them or them or
Certainly
them
not the
or
media.
them. Right, don't trust the media, don't trust anybody. And so just stay on your couch, basically. Just do nothing. Affect a pose of cynicism, be equally skeptical about everything. But if you're equally skeptical about everything, you're also equally powerless about everything, and that's how these systems work. And that's why this is so dangerous.
You talk about patriotism and nationalism. Different, obviously. But you say they are being confused, and that's dangerous. Why?
Well, nationalism is one thing which can keep you on your couch. And a nationalist today says something like, the nation is wonderful exactly the way it is. We're the greatest nation on earth. Whereas a patriot will say, I love this country. I love it because it's free or it's just. But that means we have standards of freedom or justice that we have to live up to. We have to do things. We have to improve ourselves all the time. So nationalism is easy, and patriotism is hard. When it comes to Mr. Trump, it's very hard, I have to say, for me to imagine that he has any scope.
But
broader.
Make America great again, that's, I'm a patriot.
No, make America great again is, I'm going to pretend to do something for you by reminding you of a past and then doing nothing for you whatsoever.
Perfect segue to a couple of the lessons. We don't have time for all 20, but I want to pick out a couple. Lesson number 4 is about symbols, why they're so important. You say they are the face of what we believe and we need to guard them carefully. What do you mean?
Yeah, this is something that comes from 1933 in Germany. One of the things that scholars now understand about Hitler's rise to power is that the face of the world, the swastikas or the Stars of David marking Jewish stores, that these things are very important, that we pick these things up subliminally and they teach us what's possible, they teach us what's acceptable. So we know that's true, which means that A, it's very important for us not to let those swastikas stay on walls. In the US, there are just now more swastikas than there used to be, and there are also more people taking them down, which is very important.
Okay, lesson number 10, we've talked about believe in truth, but I love this, what you wrote about the biggest wallet pays for the most blinding light. Are we being blinded?
Yeah, so truth is self-defense. If truth is out there, that means that anybody, they don't have to have a television channel, anybody can say, look, that's a fact. But once we say there are no facts, then it's all emotion, it's all what feels right to me. Then what we do is we're ceding the field to the people who are good at making things feel right to us, and that's called spectacle. And yes, spectacle is winning. The President of the United States has one qualification, which is that he played a rich businessman on a television show. He has no other qualification. That's spectacle, that's fiction.
How much danger do you think we collectively are in? I mean, standing here in Canada, we don't feel that kind of threat. How urgently do we need to pay attention to the lessons in here and actually act them out?
I don't mean to sound fatalistic about this, but I do think that we're in a moment like, say, 1945 to 1950 in Europe, or like 1989 to 1995 in Europe. We're in a moment where things are changing, where things are definitely in motion, which means that what we do as citizens counts for more rather than counts for less. So, I mean, I don't think the Canadian attitude can possibly be, this is a spectator sport, let's count how many authoritarian regimes turn up and how many democratic regimes stay democratic. If you treat it as a spectator sport, then you lose because eventually the teams on the field rush the stands.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Warnings about losing democracy in the United States are pretty rare from Yale historians, but in today's highly charged, hyper-partisan America, fears of White House authoritarianism have come from both sides of the political spectrum. To some U.S. conservatives, the last U.S. president was the dictator.
We find ourselves today in the throes of despotism, tyranny, and oppression.
The idea that Obama was a threat to freedom emerged early on the far right. Soon, mainstream conservative media picked up on it, then Republican politicians.
In America, we are either moving more towards liberty or more towards tyranny. Well, I think we should ask ourselves what tyranny would look like in the United States of America. The president told us he was going to fundamentally transform America, and I think that is exactly what he is doing.
Concern among the U.S. right about threats to democracy now tend to focus on the investigations into the Trump campaign's ties to Russia. You can go deeper on the stories of the day earlier each weekday. Subscribe to our newsletter at cbcnews.ca/thenational.
Earlier this week, two-time Olympic gold medalist Heather Moyse announced she was returning to the track. The 39-year-old of Summerside PEI is making a bobsleigh comeback with a new partner, Alicia Rissling of Edmonton. Now, one of the big questions is, what are her Olympic chances? Well, the CBC's Scott Russell joins me now from Toronto with some insight. Hi, Scott. What do you think her chances are?
Well, Louise, I would never want to count Heather out. I mean, as you mentioned, she's a two-time Olympic gold medalist. She's a rugby player of great acclaim in the International Rugby Hall of Fame. She's the complete athlete. I think she's got a great chance, and I think her motivation is great. That's to bring along a young pilot in Alicia Rissling. Here's the thing about Heather. She is 39 years of age. She's got back problems which have been a bit chronic, and she's got got to catch up to those younger brakemen that are in the camp. But I have no doubt that she has the ability to do this. She did it in 2013 prior to the games in Sochi in 2014. As I say, you would never want to count out Heather Moyse.
No, she's a tough competitor, that's for sure. But as you mentioned, some of her health issues, a hip surgery, a back alignment issue. So would you say that's probably her biggest challenge right now?
I think so, and the fact that she hasn't been training in the ice house for about 3.5 years. The thing about Heather is she has the ability to come into a situation and take command, and I think what's going to happen is that the other brakemen who are competing for seats in the bobsleighs come the Olympics in Pyeongchang will look up to her, will follow her example, and that's part of her aim here. The question for her is she has all the athletic ability to do it. It's to get back up to speed in a relatively short period of time. But as I say, she has that ability to get there.
And what do you think of the partnership now with Alicia Risling?
I think it's an interesting one. Alicia is a development driver. She hasn't been to the Olympic Games before. But when you think of Heather's competitive experience, Kaylee Humphries was a first-time Olympian when Heather, along with Kaylee, won that gold medal in 2010. And what happens with this bobsleigh team of Canada is there's usually a veteran and a younger person in the sled. So I like the combination of Alicia Risling along with Heather Moyse. It creates more chances for Canada because Kaylee Humphries could very well have Melissa Lotholtz or Cynthia Apaya in her sled. Both are proven brakemen. And now you've got two Canadian sleds that have chances come Olympic time. I like the move.
Now, Kaylee Humphries did ask Heather to come back a while ago. So will there be any hurt feelings here from the Humphries front?
It's going to be an interesting dynamic, Louise. Certainly, Kaylee's aim as a great competitor is to win a third consecutive gold medal. And I think it may heighten the performance of people like Melissa Lotholtz. You know, there may be some hurt feelings, but also remember, it's Team Canada.
Right.
We're all pulling for the same team, and I think that may be a great environment.
This is an opportunity for me to hear from all of you, from many of you, to listen to your concerns, to actually...
Stories we're following on The National this week. Justin Trudeau kicks off cross-country town hall tour on Tuesday. The Prime Minister's office says jobs and the economy are amongst his top priorities this year. The tour starts in Halifax with a stop in London, Ontario, where the government will also hold a cabinet meeting. There will be other town hall stops in Quebec, Manitoba, and Alberta later this month. Former hostage Joshua Boyle will be back in an Ottawa court tomorrow. He was arrested here last week and is facing 15 criminal charges, including sexual assault. Boyle was held captive in Afghanistan for 5 years with his wife.
In front of the net, they score! Jonathan Taves with a tip-in.
And Team Canada is expected to unveil its men's Olympic hockey roster this week, and for the first time since 1994, it won't feature any of the biggest hockey stars from the NHL because the league won't let its players go to the Winter Games, worried about potential injuries and disruption to its regular schedule. That's what's making the Winter Olympics means. John Morris and Caitlin Laws will represent Canada in the Games' first ever mixed curling competition.
Here comes Caitlin's mom. How exciting.
Mixed curling is an event for pairs, not the usual teams of 4. Morris and Laws have both won Olympic gold previously. They had previously lost to today's opponents twice in the trials this week. And Ian, they have only ever played together twice.
I don't know a lot about curling.
Nor do I.
Oh, really?
Nor
Because
do
I thought
no.
you growing up in Winnipeg, you probably were a curler, but no?
No.
Anyway,
I have immigrant parents. They don't know what curling is.
The Olympics are that moment where sports
Yes.
that people don't normally watch, and I know curling has a lot of support in Canada, but there are people who don't normally watch it who will watch it like hawks
Yes.
in February, and now they have a new event to watch.
Yeah, and they have this new this new couple, this new duo to watch as well.
Excellent.
There you go. That's the National for January 7th. Good night, everybody.
Good night.